Good morning, everybody. I know I said in yesterday's video that I wouldn't speak about this today, but bearing in mind Nicky has been kind enough to do an apology and make a public apology, and by the way, a private apology, both of which are 100% accepted. I just want to say that now. I just want this to end immediately, which is why I'm saying this at the start of the video. I still do want to talk about West Ham, and I will speak about, I think, Daniel Kretinsky later on in the video, but it would have been wrong of me not to address it, particularly bearing in mind the amount of people that commented, the amount of people that messaged yesterday, which I'm so massively grateful for. I cannot even, honestly, I cannot begin to tell you how grateful I am for the support of so many lovely people, and I just think you're just really, really nice, just a really nice bunch. So thank you very much. I didn't have a good day yesterday, but you know what? I don't think Nicky had a good day yesterday either. I just want it to end, and the club would have been loving that, and I take responsibility for that. You know, in many respects, I think the pressure was on those at the club. I think because of the protest, because of the media scrutiny on it. I think the club were under pressure, and I think we saw that in their reaction on Sunday and Monday, and I think I probably gave them a day off yesterday from that. So they would have loved that. They would have said, look at those West Ham fans infighting, squabbling amongst themselves. We do need to be unified if we are going to get this lot out of the club. I think it's so important. And just for me, I think one of the worst things for me was I was being, off the back of everything that happened, I was being credited as holding views that I don't have. Look, if I have an opinion and someone criticises me for it, and it is my opinion, no problem, I can argue it back. But if someone's saying I want the board to remain and I'm pro-board, I don't believe that. I want them to go. I think we've got to be unified in getting them out. And I really wanted to say that. And I think so. I just want it done now. And however it is, I've not seen any comment from anybody, by the way, that says they want this board to remain or they think they're doing a good job. All right. So let me just say that. But I am aware there are a load of people who just like to go to the games. And they don't want to get involved in all these politics and all that. And I totally understand that as well. But there are an awful lot of people who do support the push to try and get them out of the club, to get Brady and Sullivan in particular, those two, out of the club. And everyone's got their different ways. You might want to do everything, right? Or you might think, actually, the petition is the way for me. Or you might think the protest is the way for me. Maybe a boycott. Maybe you want to starve them of revenue and not use the club shop and stuff like that. Yesterday, I heard that somebody was trying to explore if there was any interest in, maybe, some of the wealthier West Ham fans putting money together and trying to buy out the gold shares and, fans getting a share of the club. Everyone's got their way that they want to do it. And I don't want to detract from that, because I do think that the pressure was on them. And I think after the weekend, the pressure was on them. And I think if you can keep up that pressure, if we can keep ramping it up, then that's really important. But I think they're doing a horrendous job. And I know, I get it from yesterday's comments. I just think you're just the most wonderful bunch, honestly, that follow these videos and wonderful subscribers. And I know that the 99.9% of you get it because you watch the videos all the time, and you know that I want, crikey, never mind Brady and Sullivan out, I was bloody Brown out as well. He's still there, by the way. He's still Terence Brown's still at the club. Unbelievable. I just want to, I want to sort of be unified, not infighting. That's the thing. Even if someone doesn't want to go to the protest, even if someone doesn't want to do this, that, and the other, I just don't want the infighting. All be unified. All look after one another. And for those of you that do want to actively get rid of the board, then we've got to keep the pressure up and not fight amongst ourselves, basically. And like I said yesterday, I'm more than happy, and I'm actually proud. Never mind more than happy, proud to stand shoulder to shoulder with Hammers United. They've just got some wonderful people there, and they're just West Ham fans. They're in it for the right reasons. Genuinely nice people, and I absolutely mean that. So yeah, I just want it all. Honestly, I just want it all to end now. So I will. I'll say no more about it, but thank you, honestly, thank you so much. I didn't want to inflame the situation by replying to everything yesterday, but honestly, I cannot. It's so appreciated and so noted, but I just want it to end. So and hopefully it does. Both for myself and for Nicky, and yeah, just thank you very much. Thank you to Nicky for the public apology, and it's just. I just think it's all, it's done. It's done. The board had 24 hours off, and now they're not going to get it again. But that does. I'm not going to. I don't want to. I still want to talk about the other things at West Ham because I do want to talk about the managerial situation. I think it's really important. I think it's. I'm very interested in what happens in the managerial situation actually because I know there's a few people who think well actually it's just the board are the problem. I agree, but I think and I firmly believe that if we do get relegated because we're in that stadium, because it's so far from the pitch, I just think I'm not sure we bounce back in the way we have before from the Championship. I don't think that we're going to be able to do that. So I do actually think the managerial appointment is incredibly important. If I had my choice, if you were to say to me, what would you like to happen? What I would, ideally, I want Sullivan and Brady. I know the push is for them to resign their executive position. I'd love for the club to be sold. But I do think asking for them to resign their executive positions is the realistic option. Right? I really do. I think that's the realistic option. But if I had my wish, it would be that we got new owners and we were still in the Premier League. I think that's tough. I think that's tough to recover. I can see almost like a Sheffield Wednesday situation there if we went down. I think it'd be a brilliant day out for every club in the Championship. I think we'd be everyone's cup final. I think whilst that stadium is not very good for us as fans because it is so far from the pitch and you've got the trampolines and all that rubbish stuff, I think for opposition players in the Championship, I think they'd see it as a real big day out. You can, the coaches drive right in. They get sort of chauffeured through. They've got these little inside the stadium. They've got these little like golf carts. If you ever go to a golf course, and you've got little golf carts. They've got those, and people get ferried around in them. I think the changing rooms in there. If you've ever done the stadium tour, the changing rooms are there are really sort of palatial. They get well fed and all that stuff. I think the Championship players would go, wow, this is brilliant. What a great day out this is. And look, maybe with the protests outside the stadium, it is a little bit more intimidating. But generally, it's not like Upton Park. It's not like having to drive that away coach down Green Street. And even when you park it, the fans can still see you. Once that coach is parked, it's so big, it's so cavernous in there. They're not getting jeered at or the opposition players when they get off the coach. It's completely sort of isolated and so I just think it would be an absolute easy day out. And you've only got to look at the results now, right? We don't have home advantage. Not at all. We don't have any sort of home advantage. I think we're worse at home. We've got more chance of winning our away games. Anyway, that's what I want. That's what I want to say about that. What I do want to talk about is just quickly, which seems a bit weird to try and segue into this now, which is Daniel Kretinsky. So we hear is having some say on the managerial situation, which whether him having a say or not is important. I don't know, but as I mentioned, I do think it's important. We've got to get this right. We can't get another one wrong. The last two have been wrong, right? I'm sure most would agree with that. We've got to get this. We've got to get this one right because for the reasons I just said. Otherwise, we get relegated. Now, apparently, all the names being discussed are being handed to Kretinsky. Now, I don't know whether that means he has the veto. I don't know whether he has the final say or not. But it's quite clear he's involved in some way, shape, or form, and I'm grateful for that. Not that I don't know whether Kretinsky is competent in this stuff or not. I just feel almost like from an audit point of view, someone needs to be watching what Sullivan's, what Brady are doing. I think this is really, really important. I think if these people are left unchecked, we've already got evidence to show that they're perfectly capable of appointing the wrong manager. So I'm pleased to hear that. I am pleased to hear that. But I couldn't help but think back to to some information that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago with regard to the gold shares, which is if only 15% of the gold shares are up for sale, that's really no good to an investor. That's not particularly attractive to an investor, because to have a veto or to have a vote on the big issues, you need to have 20% or more. So at the moment, who has 20% or more of club shares? Well, Sullivan, the Gold family have 25% of shares, and Kretinsky, who has 27%. And obviously, if anyone's going to... It's difficult, obviously, because it's an odd number. I have always assumed that the Gold family would vote along with David Sullivan, because they were business partners for so long. Why would they not do so? But it's really, really important, the destiny of those gold shares in terms of the voting. But look, as far as we know, names are being passed to Daniel Kretinsky now. I've not actually spoken about this for 2 or 3 days because of the match and everything else. So I'm sure you know, because I'm sure you're all over, the West Ham news and watching videos and on social media and whatnot. But it would seem that Slaven Bilic has been ruled out, and there are 3 candidates. Now, the 3 candidates, as far as the latest sort of gossip is concerned, all have Premier League experience, and we know the identity of at least one, which is Nuno Espirito Santo. All right? Now, I don't know. It's a conversation for another day, and I've already done it. I don't know. I don't agree with them leaving Potter in limbo for 2 days, particularly when they've already surrendered those 6 points. As far as they're concerned, the board, and this is how muddled their thinking is, thinking we're going to lose those anyway. Not necessarily. West Ham don't necessarily lose those games. We beat Arsenal last season. If you've got the right person in, then who's to say they can't beat Arsenal? The Premier League is like that. You can give other teams a bloody nose. You've only got to go and look at the other results. It's just quite frankly, it's just another reason why you would think that the board are incompetent, that they would consider throwing the next 2 games or 6 Premier League points. We're in no position to be doing that, right? But if they believe Nuno Espirito Santo is the best man for the job, then appoint him, all right? If Kretinsky is on board, then do it. Either one of 2 things is true. Either they have decided and they just don't want to put this manager in for those 2 games. I can't really believe that, because what manager with any sort of sense of self-belief would do that? If you were a manager, you say, I want those 2 games. It gives me more time to work with the players, and I've got a chance of getting some points, which enables me to keep West Ham up. The other one is, and this is probably the more likely, I'm guessing, is they're still undecided. It would appear, possibly, no, it's not 100%. So Nuno Espirito Santo, 100%. That's one of them. We've seen the images. We've seen the photographs from him in Thaden at the coffee shop that had a cheese tasting evening. Everyone's seen him sat down there. He had a meeting. I think it was last Thursday, possibly, interview with Brady, and on the Friday he went to Sullivan's mansion and had a meeting there. Right. So as close as to fact as you're going to get without being there, but we're pretty certain of that, I think. So the other one's Scott Parker, and the third one remains a mystery at this point. And sort of been reassured that it's not Rafa Benitez. I mean, you wouldn't put it past him, would you? Scott Parker, that's an interesting one. Look, at this point, I'm quite impressed. Do you know what he is? He's got personality, he's got grit, he's got determination. I'd still want Marco Silva, but we won't pay the compensation, so it's pointless me talking about it. I know I speak about it all the time. It's pointless me talking about it. Scott Parker, I think he'd stir something up. It would involve compensation, apparently, which I guess, listen, this board need to get into the habit of this is what they've done wrong. They go for cheap and they go available. And now, look, I mean, let's be fair, Scott Parker's not going to be the top of anyone's list, but he's got something about him. Whether he would turn out to be an excellent manager, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But at the moment, I am thinking anyone is better than Graham Potter. And I never used to say that with with David Moyes. Never used to say that. I never used to say anyone is better than David Moyes, because I was always confident that we can get it worse and we can do worse, and that the board could pick worse, and so they did with Lopetegui. When I saw how bad Lopetegui was, I didn't think it was possible to go and do worse than that. I did. I'm sure I must have said it. I must have said anyone's better than Lopetegui. I probably said that. It appears not. Kretinsky's involved. As I say, hopefully that gives an extra level of a filter, an extra level of audit, just to keep your eye on what that lot are doing. What a mess! What an absolute mess! I'm going to look a little bit more into it today, and come back with another video tomorrow. Look a bit more closely. I've not looked at the West Ham news an awful lot over the last 48 hours, so hopefully I'm not too out of date with what I said, but I'm going to do I think they call it a deep dive. I'm going to do a deep dive into it now. Take a look at what's happening. Once again, and I mean this, I don't want you to think I am just saying this. I'm looking down the camera. Thank you, honestly. Thank you. I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you how much the support and the messages meant yesterday. Honestly, it made me quite emotional, actually. So, I am just a West Ham fan, and and so many of my mates are West Ham fans as well. And it was just you're just a lovely bunch, and I just want to show this board that we are a West Ham family, and I think hopefully we can all just go forward now, and for those of us that want to, we can keep the pressure on, and support anyone and everyone that's trying to get this board out. I need to do a better job of that, and I'm going to make sure I do it. But as I mentioned in yesterday's and today's video, I don't want to put everyone's got a free choice, and I think that's really important, And if you just want to go to the game and you want to forget about all this stuff, I totally understand, and I know someone's coming up from Cornwall for the next game. I just want to go. He says I can't be bothered with all that stuff, and he's coming up with his dad, and he just wants to go to the game. I totally get it. Totally understand that as well, by the way. So anyway, listen. Thanks ever so much. And by the way, I forgot to mention. I thought it, but I didn't say it earlier. Kretinsky was in the country last week for Royal Mail business. I'm not sure he was at the game, because I think people would have pictured him. There's so much scrutiny. There's so many cameras on the. I was going to call it the royal box, the Baroness's box. Oh, hold on. You can't say that. The director's box. There was so much camera action up there. They would have spotted him, wouldn't they? Maybe that was it. Maybe he didn't want to sit next to Sullivan and Brady. Anyway, I'll catch up with you lot tomorrow.